So, what is philosophy? It's a word we throw around all the time, but what does it really actually mean? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down this huge concept, and we're going to focus specifically on its roots in the Western tradition. You hear it everywhere, right? People talk about their philosophy for business, or sports, or even just life in general. But what is philosophy itself? I mean, what is this thing that has absolutely captivated some of the greatest minds in history for over 2,000 years?
To get our answer, we actually have to go way back, all the way back to ancient Greece, where the word itself kind of tells the first part of the story.
Yeah, the answer really starts with the word. Philosophy comes straight from the Greek word philosophia, and it's really made of two parts. You've got philo, which means love, and sophia, which means wisdom. So, at its absolute core, a philosopher was just a lover of wisdom. Simple as that. But, it wasn't a passive kind of love. It was an active pursuit. It was a hunt for wisdom, using this brand new tool they had, rational inquiry. And this, right here, is where things get completely revolutionary. Because this pursuit of wisdom was a radical, massive departure from how humans had explained the world for, well, forever. See, before philosophy, if you asked a big question like, hey, why does the sun rise? The answer was always a myth, a story about gods and goddesses. Philosophy came along and introduced this completely new approach, something that Greeks called logos. And that just means using reasoned arguments, logic, and actual evidence to find answers. This was a total game changer in how we approach knowledge. You had thinkers like Thales, Heraclitus, and Parmenides, who were the real pioneers here. They looked at the world around them and just decided, you know what, the old stories about the gods aren't good enough anymore. They wanted to figure it out for themselves, just using the power of their own minds. And they were asking the biggest questions you can possibly imagine. They weren't just asking what happens, they were asking why. Is there something permanent that's underneath all the constant change we see? And maybe most importantly, can our own minds, our own reason, actually lead us to the real truth of things? So once they had this powerful new method using reason, they started applying it to the biggest questions about life and our existence. And that's what organized philosophy into a few core areas. And this led to these distinct branches. You have metaphysics, which asks, what is reality really? Then there's epistemology, which questions, how do we even know what we know? Ethics explores, how should we live a good life? Logic, that's the study of the rules of a good argument. And political philosophy looks at how we can build a fair and just society. These really became the pillars of all of Western thought. Now, this way of thinking was so incredibly powerful that it didn't just stay in its own lane. Nope, it became the very foundation for how we understand pretty much our entire world today. In a lot of ways, philosophy is the mother of all the sciences. I mean, think about it. The scientific method itself, form a hypothesis, gather evidence, use logic, that whole process is a philosophical one. Every single major scientific field, from physics to biology, started with a philosopher asking a really basic question about the world. And this isn't just some vague idea. You can literally trace it. The philosopher René Descartes, he created analytic geometry. Isaac Newton's groundbreaking work in physics was deeply shaped by his philosophical ideas about space and time. And way more recently, in the 20th century, Bertrand Russell's work in philosophy pushed the boundaries of both logic and mathematics. The connection is absolutely undeniable. But philosophy isn't just about the external world, science and math. It turned that same powerful lens inward, and it became this crucial tool for understanding our own internal worlds, too. More modern thinkers started using that same rational inquiry to explore questions that are deeply personal to every single one of us. What does it actually mean to be free? What is this human condition that we all share? How do we find meaning in a world that can sometimes feel pretty meaningless? This is really where philosophy meets psychology and that personal quest for a meaningful life. Okay, so after looking at where it came from, its method, its different branches, and its impact, let's bring it all together and finally answer our big question. So here it is, the formal, exam-ready definition. It's critical, meaning it questions everything. It's rational, because it uses logic. It's systematic, meaning it's organized. And it tackles the big ones, reality, knowledge, and what it means to be human. But that's also a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? We can do better. Let's boil this whole thing down to its absolute simplest essence. And that's really it. That's the core of it all. From an ancient Greek wondering what the world was made of, to a modern student asking, what's the meaning of my life? Philosophy is just the use of reason to make sense of this universe and our tiny little place inside of it. So, I'll just leave you with this. Philosophy isn't some dusty old thing that only ancient Greeks did. It's something you can do right now. So, what's one fundamental question about the world or about your own life that you want to understand using your own power of reason? Because the moment you start that journey, you're a philosopher.